In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. This poem, which has become known the world over, was written by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, a doctor and a poet who was born in Guelph, Ontario. He composed it at the battlefront on May the 3rd, 1915, after his friend and former student, Alex Helmer, was killed the day before. It was during the Second Battle of Ypres in Belgium. McCrae himself died of pneumonia almost 3 years later, in January 2018, just 10 months before the end of the war. And yet his legacy lives on in this powerful poem. In 1918, 107 years ago now, at 11 a.m. on the 11th day of the 11th month, the war known as World War I, what became known as World War I, ended in an armistice agreement that had been signed earlier that same day in a railroad car in France. A year later, King George V of England requested that the people of the British Empire, the British Commonwealth, observe that day, that time, in the very first marking of what we call Remembrance Day now. It is celebrated in Canada. It is known as Armistice Day in England. And in various other parts of the British Commonwealth, it is honored to this day. In the United States, they call it Veterans Day. And I am so pleased that here in the province of British Columbia, it is a statutory day of remembrance. We pause in a moment of silence to honor and remember the men and women who have served and who continue to serve Canada during times of war, conflict, and peace. We remember the more than 2 million Canadians who have served through our nation's history, and the more than 118,000 who have died in service to our country. The First World War was so horrific that there was a general agreement that it would be the war that would end all wars. And isn't it tragic that we now know that that was not so? On today, Remembrance Day, we not only consider the people who served and the people who were affected by service and the people who were affected by war. But we use this as an opportunity to consider peace, to consider what it was that they were striving for, and to consider the balance between war, standing up for values, and the idea of non-aggression. And this idea, this commitment to values of freedom, whether it be political freedom, religious freedom, freedom of expression, doesn't it seem to be even more imperative right now, again, at a time when we thought maybe we had progressed beyond these, what seemed like ridiculous reasons to hurt each other. In my lifetime, it feels like this conversation is even more imperative again. The sad part about war is that it hurts so many people. And in the end, we are in a place where we have to question the harm that it does, especially to the innocents. Now, seeing the world sort of in this place again, I have come with a new appreciation, or come to a new appreciation about the Axis and the allies of the Second World War. The idea of, Germany being all bad and England being all good. And now I recognize, because we see it sort of playing out in various ways on our planet now, that the people of either country, both countries, are just people. And sometimes they are caught up in a web that they have no power to control. I told you last year of my friend Marlo, who grew up in Holland, which was occupied by the Germans. She had two sisters who were sent, and they were all sent to go and live with their aunt because their father and the mayor of the little town that they were in hiding. Her father survived despite the pressure of wanting, being asked and demanded and threatened about where the people were hiding. Somehow he survived. But two of his colleagues were taken and shot against a wall. She talked about how she had to spend time in a shelter for hours and hours and hours on end. And how the thing that brought her comfort was a frog. There was a little frog in this damp hole that they were hiding in, which became her friend. And she talked about how one night a German boy arrived at their door and he was wounded. And they gave him food. They tended to his wounds, and then they asked him to sleep in the pergola outside, just in case. And how the following morning they woke up and the pergola had been destroyed. And the man was nowhere to be found. Their house remained untouched. This randomness. My father was a child in the Second World War. He was born in 1929. And so at the age of 11 or 12, he, along with many of the children who lived near London and were in the direct route from Europe, from Germany, over the English Channel, over towards London, anyone who was in that strip, the children were evacuated and sent to Wales and to other places where they would be more safe. Which meant the children at times, because the families were large, the children were separated from each other. Siblings were separated from siblings. And he spoke often about the house that he was sent to in Wales and how he kept running away back to Mum. It was after the third or fourth time of them trying to find him and get him back to Wales that they finally gave up and said, okay, go. And then, when he was maybe a year or two older, he went to his uncle, who was the harbour master in Great Yarmouth, and he got himself signed on to be part of the Merchant Marine. He could not have been older than 14, but he lied about his age, and the paperwork just made it work. And he ran cocoa across the ship to all the gunners and all the people protecting the ship itself. He told tales of living through the war, of being in those Anderson shelters and hearing the sounds of bombs as they were falling, of the gas masks that came in a suitcase, that if you emptied the gas mask out of the suitcase, that suitcase could be used to carry all kinds of really good treasure. And how if you used the gas mask in just the right way, it would make a sound just like a fart. And how they loved to do that because it terrified and shocked the girls. And he spoke one day. He had stories, not that many that he shared, but a couple. But this one always resonates with me, and I've shared it with you before, because it's a reminder that no matter what side of the conflict you were on, there was humanity. He talked about how he and his brother Harry would go up on the top of a low, what we would call a low rise. They went up on the roof of this place. His mom, I think, worked in the laundry there. And as they were on the roof, looking over these two little boys, being brats probably, they could see a bomber coming. And it was coming towards them. And what did they do? They saw the pilot and they waved. And the pilot waved back and continued on and found a field and dropped the bombs there. What was interesting was that a couple of years ago, my mom mentioned that she heard an interview on CBC radio about a German bomber who saw two boys waving and who made the decision to drop the bombs in a place that would do no harm. Were they speaking about the same incident? We won't know. And it doesn't much matter, does it? Because the story is what is so powerful. The idea that it is people who are involved in these extraordinary painful experiences that we call war. The war affected my dad profoundly. He didn't talk much, as I mentioned. And yet, there was no hesitation in him about the wisdom of the idea of England entering the war. There was never any hesitation about the wisdom. And my dad was one of the most peace-loving people I've ever met. How do we reconcile this war and this standing up to the bully? That's really what I think this conversation at times can be about, is when is it okay to say, let them be, and when is it the right time to say, no, we hate to do this, and it is time to stand up. Have you ever wondered about what our life might look like today if some of those things, some of those decisions, some of those painful, heart-wrenching experiences didn't happen? Would we be in a place where we could stand here, listen to songs, sing, speak freely? I appreciate my freedom. And for that reason, I am grateful. So grateful for those who stood up to the bully. What I realize is that peace is not the same as being passive. We sometimes think that it's the same thing. But taking a stand for peace is an extremely active action. Martin Niemöller was a German theologian and a Lutheran pastor who was first a follower of the Nazi regime. And then he became known for his opposition to that regime. He was imprisoned in Sachsenhausen and Dachau concentration camps and narrowly missed execution. And at the New England Holocaust Memorial in Boston, Massachusetts, this is a poem that you will read of his. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak out because I'm not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Catholics, and I did not speak out because I was a Protestant. Then they came for me. And by that time, there was no one left to speak out for me. One of the most important lessons we can take from Remembrance Day is this idea of standing and being an advocate for peace. Let each of us stand for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Let us remember the words of Anne Frank. born in the same year as my dad, 1929, who died February 1945. How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. One of the best ways we can honor the people who have served is to be an advocate for peace, to stand up for the rights of freedom. We will, I am convinced, that we will get to a point where we know and learn how to live together. And evolution is a long, long, long ladder measuring tool. And 100 years is a blink. And every year that we move towards a little bit more inclusion, a little bit more acceptance of change, of differences, of my way is not the only way. Your way might also be okay. When we can move from we are right war to my way is a way and your way is a way, the more we do that, the more we honor the people who have gone before us and suffered so, so deeply. And let's not forget those who served. Think about how difficult and confusing and scary and utterly heartbreaking the experience has been, and for some people continues to be, as a result of war. Everybody know the song Waltzing Matilda? Waltzing Matilda is often thought of as Australia's national anthem. But it really isn't. It's just sort of a folk song of theirs. And a Matilda it's almost like your pack that you're carrying around with you. And when you waltz Matilda, it's basically saying you're going on what they call in Australia, going on walkabout. You're just going for a walk in the woods or in nature or in whatever Australia looks like, in the outback. So you waltz Matilda is to wander in the outback with your belongings on your back. And a song that was written by the Pogues is called And the Band Played Waltzing Matilda. I can't read it without crying, but I'm going to do it anyway. Here's how it goes. This was based on 1918, Australia's people also sent to the First World War. When I was a young man, I carried my pack and I lived the free life of a rover. From the Murray's green basin to the dusty outback, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1915, my country said, "Son, it's time to stop rambling. There's work to be done." So they sent me a tin hat and they gave me a gun and they sent me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as we sailed away from the quay. And amidst all the tears and the shouts and the cheers, we sailed off to Gallipoli. How well I remember that terrible day when the blood stained the sand and the water, and how in that hell that they called Suvla Bay, we were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turk, he was ready. He primed himself well. He showered us with bullets. He rained us with shells. And in 5 minutes flat, he'd blown us all to hell. Nearly blew us right back to Australia. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as we stopped to bury our slain. And we buried ours, and the Turks buried theirs. Then it started all over again. Now those who were living did their best to survive in that mad world of blood, death, and fire. And for 7 long weeks, I kept myself alive while the corpses around me piled higher. Then a big Turkish shell knocked me ass over tit. And when I woke up in my hospital bed and saw what it had done, Christ, I wished I was dead. Never knew there were worse things than dying. No more I'll go waltzing Matilda to the green bushes so far and near. For to hump tent and pegs, a man needs 2 legs. No more waltzing Matilda for me. So they collected the cripples, the wounded and maimed, and they shipped us back home to Australia. The legless, the armless, the blind and insane, those proud, wounded heroes of Suvia. As our ship pulled into the circular quay, I looked at the place where my leg used to be. And thank Christ there was no one waiting for me to grieve and to mourn and to pity. And the band played Waltzing Matilda, and they carried us down the gangway. But nobody cheered. They just stood and stared, and they turned all their faces away. And now, every April, I sit on my porch and I watch the parade pass before me. I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, reliving the dreams of past glory. I see the old men all twisted and torn, forgotten heroes of a forgotten war. And the young people ask me, what are they marching for? And I ask myself the same question. And the band plays Waltzing Matilda. And the old men still answer the call. By year after year, their numbers get fewer. Someday, no one will march there at all. Waltzing Matilda. Waltzing Matilda. Who'll go a waltzing Matilda with me? What is the best way to feel the emotion and to resolve to do better so that our children don't experience the same pain? Anne Frank said, I keep my ideals. In spite of everything, I still believe people are really good at heart. Could we lean into that vision? That despite the pain, people are still really good at heart. Let us not let the deaths of fallen soldiers and the emotional wounds of veterans and their families be wasted. Let us remember the principles that they fought and died for. We owe our soldiers, our peacekeepers, their families, a debt of gratitude. Let us give thanks who were willing. Give thanks for those who were willing and those who continue to be willing to put their lives on the line for us. and we're going to enjoy this not great quality, but beautiful song.
Good morning, shoppers. At 11 o'clock on this 11th day of November, we'd like to invite you to share with us 2 minutes of silence in honor of our veterans.
They fought and some died for their homeland. They fought and some died, now it's our land. Look at his little child, there's no fear in her eyes. Could he not show respect for other dads who have died? Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who went over. In peace may they rest, may we never forget why they died. It's a pittance of time. God forgive me for wanting to strike him. Give me strength so as not to be like him. My heart pounds in my breast, fingers pressed to my lips. My throat wants to bawl out, my tongue barely resists. But 2 minutes I will bide. It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who went over. In peace may they rest, may we never forget why they died. It's a pittance of time. Read the letters and poems of the heroes at home. They have casualties, battles, and fears of their own. There's a price to be paid if you go, if you stay. Freedom's fought for and won in numerous ways. Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls all over. May we never forget our young become vets at the end of the line. It's a pittance of time. It takes courage to fight in your own war. It takes courage to fight someone else's war. Our peacekeepers tell of their own living hell. They bring hope to foreign lands that hate mongers can't kill. Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who go over. In peacetime our best still don battle dress and lay their lives on the line. It's a pittance of time. In peace may they rest, lest we forget why they died. Take a pittance of time.
They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Please stand as you are able as we hear the last post, and then enter 2 minutes of silence, followed by reveille.